Hello, everyone, and welcome into another episode of the Big Blue News Podcast presented by KY Insider. I'm your host, Chris Beasmore, and of course, we've got the co-host Nolan Fleming with us. How are you doing?
Pretty okay until I watched the Falcons play yesterday. What a joke. Fire Arthur Smith like right now.
Hey, I was calling for his head a few weeks ago saying
He
he's.
needs to be done. He's the worst coach in the NFL right now, I think. And that includes what's his face, Jonathan Gannon. Well, I mean, Jonathan Gannon beat him, so
Yeah, and as for me with my Cincinnati Bengals, holy moly, I get home, I was keeping up with the Bengals game. I was out just sightseeing with my parents, and then we got some lunch at Drake's in Lexington, and I was keeping up with the game, and I get back and I see the ending of it. Tyler Boyd misses the
that
touchdown
was that
catch.
was pitiful. I
Yeah.
watched that. I watched that whole game.
I see that, and then after that, obviously CJ Stroud drives it down the field, and then their kicker makes the field goal to win the game. I'm like, holy moly,
Yeah, the Texans accidentally drafted probably one of the best rookie quarterbacks ever. So there you go.
dude! And I was saying that he should have been the number one pick. I'm
He
like,
definitely should have. But I honestly think that he would have been hurt if he was in Carolina,
yeah,
because Carolina's kind of an all systems failure right now. And I also think D'Amico Ryans is a significantly better coach
mhm,
than Frank Reich.
yeah, I hear you. But yeah, I thought though CJ Stroud should have been the number one pick, like I said before. I watched the Ohio State game, or not the Ohio State game, the Georgia game against Ohio State, and I'm like, he should be the number one pick. There's no question. And
Yep.
obviously, NFL scouts drafted Bryce Young because I think Alabama over Ohio State.
Well, yeah, and you would naturally do that. Speaking of Alabama, we'll talk about them later, or
Yeah,
actually probably like immediately after we're done talking about this. But Will Levis had a pretty okay day. He did not get a touchdown. They didn't score a touchdown at all in that game.
back to back.
I think the best thing that could happen to him is that Vrabel either leaves or gets fired at this point. I think Vrabel is killing him,
I
and
agree
and
for
his,
sure.
he's not being developed right at all.
I agree, and their O line sucks. I watched like the first half of that game as
I
well,
did
and
too. Or
does
I was flipping through between that and the Bengals, and it was just
yeah, same here.
Vrabel clearly doesn't like him, and he doesn't want him to be the quarterback, which I
Mhm.
don't understand. I don't know why you wouldn't want him to be the quarterback right now, as good as
Yeah,
he's been,
I agree.
or as good as he was. But
Yeah, I
he's
remember watching the Titans obviously whenever I was in college at WKU because CBS games we had Titans instead of the Bengals. So obviously I kept up with the Titans and they looked great early on in
See,
my
that's the way it was my entire life. I wasn't a Titans fan. I'm a Falcons fan, but the Titans were always the market games because I'm from Western Kentucky.
Mhm.
So, and that's a different thing here because now all the market games are Cincinnati.
Yep.
Now I have to watch Cincinnati because that's what's on TV. But I do have, at least that was the way it was for like the first 6 weeks. Now I have Sunday Ticket and Red Zone and all that stuff.
Hey,
Shout out my parents. But
shout out your parents. Oh yeah, poor college
yeah,
student. Can't afford
yeah.
it.
I'm a broke college student. I couldn't afford that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a change. It's a culture shock.
Mhm. Yeah, like I said, I always, growing up, cheered on the Bengals, watching the Bengals my whole life, and then moving to WKU for college, and then all I see were the Titans. I'm like, I mean, I guess it was good because the Bengals were basically sucking at
Yeah,
that
because
point.
you got to watch the Titans that were pretty good. Like they were. I mean, they made the AFC title game, all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's
And
kind of their peak.
at that point in my life, also the Bengals were doing terrible. Basically,
Yeah.
Andy eventually left. AJ.
Ryan Finley at quarterback. I mean, that was some times right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, you're not wrong, but let's stop talking about the NFL. I wanted to talk about, Kentucky basketball right away, but since we've been talking about football, let's continue talking about good old Kentucky football and how they
Huh.
stomped against Alabama this past Saturday, losing 49-21. And UK, they had a chance after they got down 21 nothing, but they never
Nah,
they never really got to the point of coming close.
I disagree with you there. I think once it hit 21 nothing, I think it was over. People legitimately started leaving the game when it hit 21 nothing because it was pretty obvious that this was going to be a long day. I will be honest, I left at halftime.
You let that
Uh,
happen.
yeah, I was cold.
You were
Well, it was a pretty nice day, but I'm just not gonna lie. It was a blowout. I was getting bored by the game, and I was just ready to go home. So and don't question my fandom about it, please.
hey,
But
he's an
it was
Alabama
no. Hey, look, no, I'm not. Yeah, I mean,
fan.
yeah,
Okay.
I am. I definitely, I 100% am. But I go to college at UK.
Yeah.
Um, long game. Good. Hey, there's something for me. It doesn't have much implications for me. Uh, but Kentucky, I think had people are going to write this off as it was just Alabama or it was just Alabama. I think it has some pretty good implications right now because it is a clear definer of where we are as a program or a
I agree.
definition of where
I
we are.
I agree for sure because like we should be competing against these good teams. Obviously not probably winning against
No, I'm
Georgia
not saying
and
that either.
Alabama.
I'm not saying we should have gone out there and like beat Bama or
Yeah.
destroyed Bama. It was on your home field though. You
Yeah.
shouldn't have lost by almost 30. We were down 35, and let's be honest, it should have been 49-14 because they missed a fumble.
Oh no,
Uh,
I actually replayed that. It was not a fumble.
I thought it was, but
it
I haven't seen the replay since.
it looked like a fumble, but I definitely went to replay it eventually after the game. It was not a fumble by Ramon Jefferson. He did have a great run though.
I thought that
Got
was a
us
good
into
run, yeah.
the, first and goal, obviously. UK finally scored from Ray Davis. But yeah, like I said, UK lost 49-21. And at this point with Mark Stoops and his coaching, they should be competitive against these good teams. Obviously, not saying we should win them, but I
No,
say against Georgia and Alabama, we should be losing by no less than 14 points at this point in.
but the argument I understand from the people that are pretty upset with Stoops. First of all, we don't want Stoops to be fired. Me and you don't. We've both been very clear about that. Do we think he's overpaid? I don't know, maybe, but then again, when you consider where we were as a program,
Mhm.
I am on that train where you consider that and what he's done here. Maybe not. It's worth more to us than it is to other schools.
Yeah,
But as far as wanting fired, no. But he needs to change.
I
He
agree.
has to change. If we're gonna ever like they have said all off season long for the last like three off seasons, the next step is beating Georgia. The next step is beating Georgia or beating Alabama or I mean I guess Tennessee kind of, but we've
I,
already done that.
yeah, I think the next step for the football program is we should be consistently beating Tennessee every year, in my opinion.
I think that's a good point. And because we've already, but we it's just getting one win on him though. We've gotten two on him since he's been here. We won in Knoxville, killed
Yeah, in
that streak.
2020 and then
But
2017.
my point, I guess, back on topic is they've said for 3 or 4 years now that the next step's going to be to beat Georgia and or to beat Alabama. And you go out there and you look as bad as we did in both games
Mhm.
and just as unmotivated as they seem to have looked. You're not that's really conflicting.
hmm You're not wrong for sure. And honestly, what we also need to do is definitely improve our offensive line. Our offensive line has struggled all year, and then our defense, we held them to third and longs at points during the game, but every time we had that, I remember third and 17 or third and 18, they completed that for a first down, eventually led to a touchdown. I'm like, what's wrong
I
with defense?
I didn't understand the calls to play zone coverage
hmm
on some of those plays. The 3rd and 12 at the beginning of the game where we looked like we were actually going to probably hold them to nothing. For some reason, they called the play zone coverage on that play, and our guys have all year struggled with zone coverage.
Yeah,
We've not been good at it. We've been better when we were in man, but Alabama picked them apart on that play because I just remember the guy got wide open. I forget who that was. Isaiah Bond.
I'm not for sure who it was on,
Here, let's look that. I'm gonna look that up, but it's not
but yeah,
important.
we
But
just
either way,
made Alabama on the offensive side they looked like they were playing just pitch and catch basically for the most
they
part.
really did. Especially after we failed that 4th down conversion. I think in the second quarter. First of all, I think that was a terrible play call.
hmm
That was horrible. I don't know what we were trying there. It was pretty evident from the get-go whenever they started to run the motion,
Hmm.
the pre-snap motion, that this wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah, and
Uh,
I thought, in my opinion, you should have just gone with the field goal. Get the points at the time, obviously, because at that point you could have made it, 28-10 going into halftime, and
yep.
then score off the first drive 28-17. Then
Right.
eventually,
I understand both point of views about taking the points and about going for the fourth down. Because if you did get the fourth and you got in the end zone, all of a sudden it's kind of a game again.
yeah,
You
because
just
if
need
you
your defense to come up with a stop and then you get it back and then maybe and you get ball first,
yeah
second half.
21 then
Yeah. So then if you got on the board again, I mean, you're not dead,
yeah.
but it was I didn't think the play call was good.
Yeah, I didn't think so either. And sometimes, like I said, whenever I watch, UK football or Kentucky basketball and they go for a fourth down, like I agree with the play, I agree with going for it, but I hated the play call usually. So,
Right. It's been so frustrating this year. Also, that was not Isaiah Bond. It was Amari Niblack is the guy I'm talking about.
mhm.
I forgot about him. But anyway, he got right behind the coverage. Like the zone, they for some reason it didn't look like anyone came like tried to defend him or tried to like motion over whenever they saw the ball was in the air or that he was wide open. And he oh man, it was bad. It's one of those things that you notice when you're watching it there and probably not on TV.
Yeah, you're not wrong for sure.
So but overall, it was miserable. It was not a fun game for Kentucky. It should have been so much better than that. We can go in depth about we can go in detail about the second half. Second half was brutal, and I don't think we even have talked that much about it.
Yeah, I mean the really two good drives that UK had was basically the first drive coming from halftime. Devin Leary, like I said, just got roughing the passer, so basically that kept that drive alive. If
Yeah.
it wasn't for that, UK probably doesn't score on the first drive, and then of course Ramon Jefferson had that big run in that second half as well. But yeah,
hmm Oh,
oh
also the fumble on like the third drive of the game or the second drive of the game for us.
very enough.
That killed them.
Yeah, that basically sealed the deal after
That
that play.
killed them. You had a chance
Hmm.
at that point. Just it's been that way all year. The stupid boneheaded mistakes
Hmm.
have ruined them in these games.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. And also, I just hate how our players are continuing to talk crap to
Yeah.
the other team. I get it that we're down. Hey, at least they're talking crap even while they're down because,
Mm-mm.
some players only talk crap while they're up. But I
No,
just
don't talk.
I just hate it overall.
I would
Obviously.
rather you talk crap while you're up than I would you while you're down. I don't think that's a humility thing.
Hmm.
And I know it sounds like I don't know. It sounds weird saying that you're more humble when you're talking crap when you're up than you are when you're but talking crap when you're down. It's just out of control.
I agree.
It,
It felt like we didn't have this problem last year. It felt like Barry
no,
Brown
we did.
didn't do it as much. Like it wasn't as noticeable compared to last year in my
Danke. I love Danke. I think he's pretty good. I like, but uh, why is he talking so much crap to people whenever he has been singled out a lot of times this year by the fan base and by a bunch of critics as being a big reason why they were underperforming
You're not
because
wrong
he was
about
kind of now, but about Denki too because I don't like want to like look like I'm hating on Denki. I think he's done. I think he did okay. I think he did okay after all that stuff because I think he responded pretty well, and I think he turned it around for the most part. I think the receiving core for the most part has turned it around this year.
Yeah, I think so. After UK went down 10-0 against Tennessee, I think our wide receiving core, I think they have played very great since then. And they have definitely turned around the season for sure. Obviously, it hasn't equated to wins for the
Right.
most part since, that Tennessee game, sadly.
Yeah, and but I don't know. We were not gonna win
Yeah.
against Alabama. I predicted 45-28. I wasn't too far off.
Yeah.
I just had a different philosophy in mind. I thought it'd be maybe 10-point game for most of the game, maybe get within 7 at one point, but then Alabama just finally gets away from you.
Yeah. And
That wasn't
also,
that way at all. We were never close.
yeah, and also sometimes you have to think about how would UK have looked if, they got some wide receivers like Javon Baker, who's at UCF. He's been killing it recently there.
Hmm.
Taj Harris as well. He committed to UK from Syracuse, but obviously never
Right.
saw the field. He committed because of, I think, academic issues. Uh, Same with Javon Baker. And I'm like, what can we do to get, some good wide receivers to come in eventually?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. It's. I think, and I said this in a tweet that kind of exploded on me. Uh,
Responding back to my tweet, right?
yeah, responding back to your tweet, that exploded. Either way, we both had a good day when it came to that stuff.
Mhm.
Uh, if that's what you consider a good day, but it's not personally for me. I don't really care. But yeah, there you go. I'm singling out all the Twitter users. I don't care. But it's just a platform I'm on. Um, but the offense has to look more like a college offense, I think.
Yeah,
I think the pro style offense has killed us the last
yeah,
2 years.
I agree.
I know people disagreed with me on that. They were pretty loud about disagreeing with me on that. But I just think that's where we are, and I think everyone agreed with me though, and agrees with anyone else who says that the defense is going to have to start applying more pressure to the quarterback.
Mhm.
This whole thing of sitting back in coverage is not working this year. Uh, Teams have found Kentucky's way and recipe of winning games, and they know exactly how to beat them now.
Mhm.
Everybody does, and that's something I think a lot of us should have realized after the Vanderbilt game. After the Vanderbilt game,
Mhm.
is that they all know how to beat us now.
Yeah,
Uh, we're gonna have to change some stuff up. I'm
I
not a football coach. I don't know what it needs to look like. I just know it needs to look different.
I agree for sure. Just changing the schemes, and people were calling for my head yesterday. Basically, what I said, if y'all don't know, what I basically said about both John Calipari and Mark Stoops. I'm saying that they are both great head coaches, but basically at the same time, the talent level has gotten so much better compared to 10 years ago or 5 years ago. Talent level has gotten so much better. That means you need to be a better X's and O's coach for game plan. And basically, if they can't do that, bring in an assistant coach, which I think that's what Calipari did this offseason. Obviously, he brought in two
Yep.
assistant coaches, John Welch and Chuck Martin. And I think John Welch is going to be the person that will be the person who does the X's and O's this year for Kentucky basketball.
Yeah. I agree with you and disagree with you on that tweet. Look at me talking to the host like that. But I agree with you on football because the talent disparity is clear, and
Mhm.
you just need to be better X's and O's. And Mark Stoops is a great coach. He's not the best X's and O's guy.
Mhm.
He's also not the best at clock management either. He's kind
Yeah.
of infamous for that. But
Middleweight, we've been killed all year.
what'd you say?
The middleweight, we've been killed all year.
Yeah, quite a bit. But he's not the greatest X's and O's coach in the world.
Mhm.
But I think he's done a good job at getting people who could be or are. Like I think Liam Cohen's a good X's and O's coach,
I think so too,
and I
but
think he has good ideas. But now the execution might not work. But I think he's got good ideas, and I think he's a good offensive coordinator. Um, but that being said, it's pretty clear that Stoops is a little more hands-on with X's and O's.
I think
Uh, I know he doesn't call the plays on offense, but like I've said before or a million times, it's obvious that he's telling them what he wants it to look like. He wants it to be slow, and he wants because that's the way we've played ever since he's been here. Is we've
yeah, play slow.
drained the clock. And on defense, they're running pretty similar defense to what he ran at Florida State
Mhm.
back 10 years ago when he was defensive coordinator for Jimbo Fisher, and that was a pretty good philosophy even like 2 years ago or 3 years ago. but teams are playing a lot different now, and pressure in the quarterback's a lot more important than it used to be.
Instead of dropping 8. Yeah. And shout out Jimbo Fisher for making like $80 million.
Jesus, I wish I could get fired for that much money.
So do I, man. And I got some
And people
exciting.
think he's going to be people think he's going to be the head coach at Mississippi State. If I was him, I would be on a beach for the rest of my life if I was him.
And I agree with you on that. And also, I have some exciting news coming soon. So keep following me on Twitter or
Was
social.
Jimbo Fisher joining the podcast?
Oh yeah, Jimbo Fisher definitely joined the podcast. No, I have some exciting personal news to share. So definitely check my Twitter or X whenever I do make the post. And I should make that post by, I would say, by the end of the week. So I'll be excited about that. So personal
Else
news
down.
for me. Ooh, else down. Yeah. Else down. He knows what I'm talking about a little
Yeah.
bit. But yeah, let's continue the podcast though. But yeah, like I said, I just think right now talent level has gotten a lot better in every sport, not even basketball and football. But at the same time, whenever that does happen, you just have to become better at X's and O's and managing a game plan. And honestly, I think that's what has been going on for both, football and basketball recently, in my opinion. Like I said previously, I just
Speaking of basketball, by the way, I don't know if you've just now seen this. Travis Branham just gave a crystal ball prediction to Kentucky for Jaden Quaintance, and he also just gave one to Kentucky for Billy Richmond.
Billy Richmond. Whoa, that's big news. And
Uh,
I
that
know,
class, especially after this weekend, has potential to be really good.
yeah, I agree. And I know last week I tweeted out saying I hope the stuff about Jaden Quaintance isn't true because there was a little bit of a Missouri buzz going on last week.
Also, there's a lot of buzz going around right now that Carter Knox probably also going to Kentucky,
Yeah, that
according to some other people with 24/7.
yeah,
That would be you add him, Richmond, and Quaintance to the class already, and then maybe who you get back next year.
hey, can't forget about Travis Perry the GOAT.
Travis Perry. Well, yeah, Travis Perry did just commit. We can talk about that later, but still, that could be really good. But anyway, yeah, talent disparity. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree for sure. Like I said, for football, it's definitely growing larger. And basically, Lane Kiffin is complaining for the same reason as Mark Stoops right now, basically saying they need better talent on the roster if they want to compete. And right now, Ole Miss, they aren't doing too bad. I think they're, 8-2 right now on the season.
Yeah, but they
Oh,
just got killed by Georgia.
I know they just got killed, but basically saying the talent disparity right now is insane. And that's why they need to recruit better players, basically overall.
Yeah, which he's a guy that when Alabama or something like that opens up, he'll take that and he'll go win a national championship. That is my actual opinion on Lane Kiffin. He is literally a school away from being a monster
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to college football. But we don't. I don't have to suck up to Lane Kiffin right now. But but I think Ole Miss and Kentucky are pretty similar in that way because of the pipelines. Ole Miss is not quite as strong in the areas like Alabama and Georgia and Florida and Mississippi produces some pretty solid talent,
Yeah,
but it's kind of like it's what'd you say?
they usually go to Mississippi State or somewhere else.
Yeah, Mississippi State's usually the pick.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the recruits I talked to over the summer that are going to Mississippi State. Good job there. Oddly, a lot of Mississippi. See, see, I can use my own personal experience as basis. A lot of Mississippi recruits go to Mississippi State. There you go. We just backed up our own claim.
Woo.
But they're in the same boat as us. But anyway, what I was saying about Stoops though, I think, but to make up for the talent discrepancy and all that stuff, you have to be good on the X's and O's.
Yeah.
And that's how Lane Kiffin has made up for it at Ole Miss and has been so successful there is
Mm-hmm.
because he's made up for it in the X's and O's, and they've been really good on offense and they've been pretty good on defense, other than against Georgia where they got absolutely demolished on both.
And then LSU, oof, that their defense did not show out against
Yeah,
LSU,
but
but
they
they
but they
did
won that
win.
game. So
Yeah. But
Uh,
yeah, I think Ole Miss they have a top 10, top 15 coaching staff. I think
Mhm.
in the
I think so too.
I think overall in the NCAA, and basically that's what UK needs. And I'm not saying part ways with Brad
No,
White
no, 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 no.
and
I don't
Coleman.
think that either.
Yeah, I'm not saying that, but maybe we need to get better, a quarterback coach or something,
Wide receivers coach.
wide receivers
There,
coach.
I'll say that.
Yeah,
We need we're gonna have to look at that.
yeah,
Uh,
definitely
there's
have to do this year.
something going on there. Development wise, they shouldn't be as bad as they were slash have been at times.
Yeah, you're
Uh,
not wrong. And it's always been a problem though, wide receivers not being able to catch, balls. And I'm like, what's the problem? Even whenever the football is thrown right at their chest or something, they are
they
never
drop it.
they always drop it. I'm like, it's always been a problem during the
Yep.
Stoops, tenure. And I don't understand why.
No, I don't either. Um, that's something they're gonna have to address. As far as Brad White goes, I know a lot of people want him fired right now, but or well, I don't know if it's a lot or as much as it is a loud minority,
Mhm.
but my stance on that is I think he has more than earned at least another year
Yeah.
to prove himself. But if we had the same issues next year that we've had this year, then I think you can look into it.
Yeah, I mean, last year was completely opposite though. Last year the offense struggled, the defense was great.
Oh yeah,
This
the
year,
defense. We forget they kind of owned Georgia in that game. I
yeah.
mean, Stetson Bennett and Georgia kind of looked their worst all year long against
Yep.
us during the regular season.
And we had a chance to win that game too last year, but
Very well could have, but just didn't pull it off. If we had a better offense, we probably would have.
yeah. Obviously, like you said, just you have to look into schemes and everything this off season. You have to figure out what you need to change. You have to look at yourself in the mirror, see what changes has to happen this summer. And I don't know what that is. Obviously,
No.
you could look into assistant coaches, wide receivers coach, like you said, but something has to change this off season. Obviously, 6-4, we're going to a bowl game. Who knows what will happen though against South Carolina? South Carolina is still trying to fight for bowl eligibility right now. They're 4-6. It's a night game at their stadium, so it's going to be a crazy one. If
Hmm.
South Carolina can pull that off, then a lot of people will be calling for Mark Stoops. Mark Stoops' head with how
Um,
bad South Carolina has been this
yeah,
year.
they would not have a bad reason at all to be very aggravated about it. That does happen, which I think there is a good chance of.
Yeah, it's a
May I
night
add?
game. That's
I legitimately think it's a 50-50 in that game because they're also going to be motivated to get bowl eligible
yeah.
if they like their coach, and I'm going to assume they do. So, because I think his job might be at stake.
Mhm.
Whether they actually fired him this year or next year, I don't know. But his job security definitely on the line a little bit.
I agree. Same.
Beamer's is. I
Yeah,
would love to see that man not be the coach at South Carolina anymore, though. It would be pretty funny.
yeah. He's
Look,
so
I don't know. I'm not rooting for someone to get fired. That's evil. But like,
yeah.
he is annoying.
He is annoying. You can't go wrong with that. He is definitely annoying. And like we said, they're fighting for bowl eligibility, 4-6, night game against Kentucky, and then they also have to play against Clemson to finish off the season. And both games could go 50-50 for South Carolina for sure. But
Yeah, and you know what's crazy? I just forgot about this. They've got the guy or whoever it is that does Sandstorm is going to be at the game to
yes,
perform
I
Sandstorm?
yeah, Sandstorm, the song.
The Rude.
Yeah, they're going to have the person playing before
While
the
they run out the tunnel. Yeah.
yeah,
Like we did with Waka Flocka whenever or Waka Flocka Flame, I mean,
yeah,
for the Florida game a couple years
yeah.
ago.
I go Waka Flocka Flame. Woo. Man, I wish we could get like some crazy, artists to come to like a UK football game or something again.
I
Like
wish we could get him back because that was like so fun.
I know,
That was like one of the best entrances I've ever seen
yeah.
for a game.
I remember a couple years ago, it might have been 22, I'm not for sure, 2022, but whenever the freshmen came onto campus at EKU, Waka Flocka Flame was there, man. Insane. I wasn't there
Nice.
obviously, but I saw it on, I saw people talking about it all over social media that Waka
Right.
Flocka Flame was there. I'm like, holy moly. I'm like,
Well, Lizzo was at UK, I think, last year.
oh.
So there's that. Either way, that's still pretty big.
Oh yeah, it's so great, but you're not wrong. Right now Kentucky is a 1.5 point favorite against South Carolina, but we'll probably do a podcast later this week to talk more about that South Carolina game. We eventually want to talk about Kentucky basketball because of Kansas. They're playing against Kansas tomorrow, and for some reason, I saw the Kentucky men's basketball hype video today, and I thought they were playing
Yep.
for some reason today instead of tomorrow.
I woke up. I thought that the same thing this morning. I thought they were playing today, and I got excited. Uh, Unfortunately, that's not true. So, are we gonna get a word from our sponsors now?
Yeah, we'll get a word from our sponsors and we will be right back. But we appreciate you all watching. And here's a word from our sponsors from Prize Picks. Before we get back into the podcast, I would like to announce our partnership with Prize Picks. It is a daily fantasy sports app that's completely legal here in Kentucky, and you can download it on your phone, Prize Picks, and also on your desktop, prizepicks.com. It is a great app. You can choose between 2 to 6 players and can win up to 25 times your entry. And they will also give you 100% deposit back up to $100. So if you put in $100, Prize Picks will give you $100 back, making it $200. It's a great app. I really enjoy it. And use my code UKVideos to get that deposit as well. But let's get back into the podcast.
Welcome back to the Big Blue News Podcast presented by KY Insider. Big shout out to KY Insider. Thanks to Tristan Ferris and KY Insider for partnering with us and helping us distribute this. So there you go. I know we been talking about football, basketball, and stuff, but I'll do the intro for this, Chris. It's all right.
Oh yeah, you want to do the intro?
Yeah.
Switch it up.
Jimbo Fisher obviously fired by Texas A&M. $75 million buyout, which is a record, the largest buyout in history.
Yeah.
And Zach Arnett, the head coach at Mississippi State, fired after only 11 games. Zach Arnett, I feel pretty bad for because I think he inherited a terrible situation.
I think so.
After the passing of Mike Leach.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you on that. And I just find it funny that both head coaches got fired, even though one team won in a blowout and the other team
51-10.
Yeah, 51-10. And one coach got fired because of the win. The other coach got fired because of the loss. And obviously, we both know that Jimbo got fired because of how bad the record is currently right now.
Yeah, they're kind of just mid. They're stuck in neutral, is what the athletic director said. And then Mississippi State needed a new coach.
Yeah,
I think he was just a 1-year contingency plan.
I think so too, and it's sad to see that Zach Arnett is gone, but I think he'll find a spot very soon as a defensive coordinator somewhere.
And maybe work his way back up too.
Yeah.
I think he's got potential as a head coach. I just like we said, I feel mainly bad for the guy because, like I said, he was just a guy to be there as like a contingency to keep all the players okay, which is the most important thing in a situation like that.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And then the other thing I want to talk about for football wise, and then we'll get into basketball finally, is I want to talk about Kentucky football. They are expected to land a recruit today. Maybe by the time we upload this podcast, we'll land this recruit. But he is expected to flip. We won't say who it is, but it's actually a surprise. It's not like the two players that everybody thinks.
No, it's not who you think.
Yeah, like two players that everybody has in mind with.
I'll name one of them. Spoiler alert, it's not Rico Scott.
Yeah, it's not Rico Scott, obviously. And then another player that potentially people are thinking about, it could be Jason Patterson, but I don't think it's him. It's a name that has been tied to UK for a little bit, though, ever since he has decommitted. I won't say who the player is, but he's been tied to UK for a little bit, ever since he's decommitted from his
Yeah.
former school. So
Whether it happens today or not, don't know. I think it'll probably happen within this week.
yeah, I think
Um, yeah, it's kind of like Ivicic. I think it's a little like Zvonimir Ivicic in basketball. I think it's just a matter of when everything is put together.
yeah,
So, there you go.
but yeah, he could be a player that could help out with UK in the future, definitely on making the big blue wall come back. And obviously, if you have kept up with the players' recruitment, you could potentially find out who it is by me saying that. But obviously, we'll keep it as that. Hopefully, Kentucky football can land that recruit, and hopefully they'll have a great class of 2024. We've reached out to some of the recruits, see if they want to come onto the podcast next month after they sign their national letter of intent. So we'll keep you all up to date. But we do have some players who have said yes, so we're excited about that, especially some good players from this year's class.
Yeah, one that's really gonna be fun for us,
Yeah, if it
and
does.
maybe we'll have some special guests for
Yeah,
that.
maybe for sure. But like I said, hopefully none of these recruits fail on us because obviously
They won't.
they won't. Oh yeah, it's easier said than done.
That'll be fine. We're gonna be all right.
Yeah, we'll make it big time eventually for sure. But all right, we're done talking about football officially. Let's get into college basketball. Kentucky obviously 2-0 right now. They are going to play against Kansas right now. They are Kentucky. They are 5.5 point underdogs against Kansas, and it makes sense because we don't have
Five
any
and a
big
half.
men. Yeah, only 5.5.
It went up. It was 3.5.
Yeah, but right now Kentucky 5.5 underdogs, and it makes sense because we don't have any big men. We don't have Aaron Bradshaw. We don't have
As you said that, it just moved back down to 4.5.
4.5.
The line literally moved during the podcast. That's crazy.
Yeah, Vegas, man. But
Vegas is something, dude.
yeah, you're not wrong. They control the lines, and it's insane. But we'll get back into it. But obviously, Aaron Bradshaw's still out. Ugano Yenso's still out. Zvonimir Ivicic still not eligible with the NCAA. And John Calipari was actually a little frustrated today with the NCAA.
Yep.
Basically, John Calipari said, give me 1 second, I'll pull up the quote. And you know who it's by?
I wonder who is it?
It's from good old Tristan Ferris, the guy who's helping us promote our stuff onto YouTube.
There you go.
But he basically was saying, I'm trying to find the quote. I just had it pulled up, but basically saying that, there we go, I found it. The NCAA has 45 days to make a judgment from the time he gets here, talking about Zvonimir. If we had got to him in earlier, we would know. It is what it is. Thought it would be nice to throw him in the Kansas game and reward him for what he has been through. And obviously that probably won't happen tomorrow, and I don't think it will happen, in my opinion. I think Zvonimir Ivicic will probably miss, another 2 weeks, in my opinion, because it took the UCLA big men 60 days to basically get him eligible by the NCAA, and
It should not take that long. That feels really weird and stupid. That's taking this long, but it is, and it is what it is. As far as the game goes, Adu Thiero is back tomorrow.
more than likely.
By the way,
Yeah,
that's what Calipari says he's back.
Well, he said that it'll be more than likely he'll play, but yeah.
But that in Calipari language means he's back. So there you go.
He's back, yeah.
But that'll be big. I don't expect a win still, but they got a chance. There's always a chance.
Yeah.
Especially with Kentucky basketball. You are Kentucky. You do have a chance in these games.
Yeah.
I think the guards are going to be really important. Trey Mitchell is going to be the most important, though. Most important player in the whole game. He's going to have to rebound. He's going to have to hit his shots, whether that be in the paint or from three. The good thing about him is that you don't have to rely on him to go down low one-on-one with Hunter Dickinson in the paint.
Hey, if he can't score over Sahvir Wheeler, he can't score over Trey Mitchell.
He'll score over Trey Mitchell. But You don't have to worry. I'm talking about on the offensive side of the ball. You don't have to worry about Mitchell having to go one-on-one in the paint with Hunter because he's got the ability to shoot the three as well
Yeah,
as he can. And on defense, they'll double team him. I'm sure. I'm sure there will be times where they will double team Hunter Dickinson, and that is
in the post, yeah, and he's not good at passing out from the double.
no, he's not. And
He's a
might
good
be a good
passer,
idea.
but not
That
with
would
the double.
be that situation. You would put the arrow probably on him as well.
Hmm.
But there are ways to win the game. It's not all lost like some people think. I
Hmm.
don't think. I feel pretty okay about it.
Hmm.
I don't
Yeah,
expect to win, but I feel better than most people do.
yeah, I feel confident that UK does have a chance. I mean, Kansas, they do have some returning players to their roster. I mean, obviously, Hunter Dickinson was on the roster last year, but he'll be a key
Right.
part. But you also have DeJuan Harris Jr. on the team. He came back. KJ Adams Jr., he's also back on this year's team. So they will definitely be nice. They are also pretty young. They have a lot of freshmen on this year's roster. So it'll be interesting to see how UK can compete.
Yep.
Obviously, freshman versus freshman for the most part. You'll have, of course, some veteran leadership, like you said, with Trey Mitchell, and
Hmm.
then also with Antonio Reeves.
Yeah, he'll be important as well. He needs to hit a shot.
Yeah,
And I think he will. Kansas State, say whatever you want about it. I think he will be okay. Um, as far as Kansas goes, they are probably there's a chance that this could be the best team they've ever had under Bill Self.
mhm.
A very good one.
Hey,
I,
you know what we need to say real quick?
what?
Kentucky has the most wins in NCAA.
Kentucky is the winningest program in history.
Yes.
Kentucky is, in fact, the winningest college basketball program in history. Don't show me any other numbers or any other stats. But I think there's a good chance we can pull it out. If you do win, all of a sudden the hype around you and your AP poll ranking for sure goes nuts.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of hype around this group from not just Kentucky. I mean, the entire country is going to be watching Kentucky basketball if they can pull that off because with the freshmen and all that stuff, it's going to be
Mhm.
hard.
Yeah.
All of a
Especially
sudden
with
all
the
of a
big.
sudden you're that rock star team we thought you were going to be.
Yeah, even without a big man for sure. And I think UK they need to play slow against Kansas. I could be wrong and everything, but I'm afraid if UK gets too quick with their offense, force up bad shots or force up shots within 10 seconds of having a shot clock, I'm too afraid Kansas will get the rebound, push it up court, get a quick basket, and it'll eventually lead
I
to
actually think we need to play the way we've been playing, fast. I think well, I don't know. I take that back. I do agree with you on that. You probably are right because this is a team that could beat us in transition.
it. Mhm.
Never
Especially
mind.
without
My
having
bad.
a big man.
My bad. But we don't. I guess that just worries me a little bit because I worry that Cal, when you say play slow, is going to go back to basically running a triangle offense.
Hey,
So,
can't forget the circle play.
God, uh, I think I think we will be fine on offense, but I think defense is going to be a big thing for us
Yeah.
because Hunter Dickinson could go for 30 if you didn't pay enough attention to him.
Yeah, you're not wrong again. It's going to be interesting to see how UK will defend Hunter Dickinson. I mean, last year this wasn't, the Kansas game, but I remember John Calipari had a game plan set for Tennessee for their big man. What's his name that everybody did not like? Uh,
I know who you're talking about. I can't remember.
but basically the game plan was to let him score his, like don't double him, make him score, he's looking up right now, Nolan.
I
But
am looking it up right now.
but I do remember last year, John Calipari talking about how the game plan was just let the Tennessee big man do his, and maybe that's what UK has to do tomorrow against Kansas. Just
Yeah, because it worked. I mean, you put the pressure on the guards to do what they have to do.
yeah, just
Um,
allow Hunter Dickinson to get his, and then defend everybody else.
wasn't Fulkerson. It's the one everybody hated.
You can't find it. It was like, I think it was like Euros Plavich.
Yeah, Plavich. Yeah. Yeah, I remember him. Yeah, he was pretty good. Yeah, that was probably a pretty good idea,
Maybe I should be the head coach.
maybe. But I think it would be a pretty good idea for this group because, like you said, it puts pressure on the guards to perform and that they got to score.
Yeah,
And
and I mean, last year Tennessee, I know this is a completely different game, but Tennessee missed so many wide open layups during that game
yeah,
at their arena. It was insane. I'm like, how does that even happen?
yeah, and I don't know. I don't really have much more else to say about that game.
Yeah,
Um,
it's going to
I
be a
my
ball
main
starter.
yeah, I think it is too, or at least has potential. Let's just not go get beat by 30 or
Yeah,
by
let's not
20.
get beat by 30 like we did against Duke a few years ago, man.
Yeah,
That game was insane. Hey, at least we still made it
horrible.
to the Elite Eight. Hey, we made it to the Elite Eight as far as Duke did that year with Zion Williamson, RJ Barrett, and Cam Reddish. That's insane that team only made it to the Elite Eight.
Well, there's a good argument we should have won a national championship.
I
So,
I know.
still that team did a lot better than we thought. But I think, like I said, I think the main conclusions I have from this game is if you don't win, okay. If you do win, major implications potentially for at least the hype around you. I don't know that it really like, oh, this means we're going to be good. But you look at that schedule and you start to wonder if you beat Kansas, is there a world where we run the table in our non-con?
Yeah, 40-0 if we beat Kansas.
40-0 will not happen.
I agree.
More like I don't know, 28-3.
Like
Oh, 28-3. Oh man, I actually made 28-3 joke.
Falcons, man, Falcons. But you're not wrong. Like I said, that's like we were talking about earlier in the podcast. The talent level has gotten a lot better since 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So it's going to be impossible to have an undefeated season. And UK almost did in 2015, but also the talent level isn't as great as it is currently in 2023.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, but we'll see what happens. It's just one of those things you're gonna have to see.
yeah, like I said, the main players that UK will have to look out for is Hunter Dickinson, Dewan Harris Jr., and then you'll have Kevin McCullough Jr. as well, and then KJ Adams Jr. Man, what's up with all these juniors on the team? Those four
A lot
players,
of them.
yeah, those four players though, UK will have to definitely look at for this upcoming year. I'm going to see what happened last year in the Kentucky Kansas game from
Mhm.
2022 because obviously we lost that game at Rupp Arena. Everybody was hyped for it, and everybody thought UK was going to win, and they lost a lot of big games at Rupp Arena last year.
Yeah, that's gonna have to end this year. If we're gonna be successful.
You're not wrong because basically every big game that we lost last
Hmm.
year, we lost to UCLA, lost to Kansas. I'm like, why can't we win a big game, for once?
Yep.
Obviously, we did
Yeah.
Tennessee, which they were ranked high, but
Yep.
that has to definitely change this year. You have to win
Hmm.
not all, but some of the big games.
I agree.
Let's see.
There. You're Kentucky. You have to win at Rupp.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So they did lose last year 77-68 at Rupp Arena. They
Yeah.
kept it close in that second half, but obviously Kansas, I think, led for the majority of the game they did.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I'm just going to be interested to see how UK will be able to defeat Kansas if they can this coming up game tomorrow, and I'm excited for it for sure.
Yeah. Me too. Like I said, we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game for sure.
Yep.
KJ Adams last year for Kansas, he scored 17, so he'll be definitely a player to look out for tomorrow for UK. Dewan Harris 8 points. So just some players to keep in mind if you're watching this podcast, listening to this podcast, and you want to know what players you need to look out for tomorrow with Kansas. Those are the four players for the most part, I think.
Yep. What else we talking about?
I think that's probably the end of the podcast. I mean, we went on for a while. I think UK will do just fine in basketball. And I think with this year's roster, with the new assistant coaches, I think UK has a chance to go probably 25-6 going to the SEC tournament or something.
Yeah.
But
I'll just say this, and then I'm gonna hop off. Go Big Blue.
go big.
Don't lose too
Yeah,
bad tomorrow.
don't lose. Hey, if we need a three, give it to Antonio Reese and Nolan Fleming just got off. So we'll wrap this podcast up. Thank you all for listening or watching on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. We appreciate you all and go Big Blue. Hopefully Kentucky can get a big win tomorrow against Kansas.